Hello everyone. Please your attention. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started now. First off, before we proceed with the program, I'd like to do a little bit of housekeeping. So first off, you know how they do it on the airplanes. If there happens to be an emergency, the exits are to the left here and also in the back. Then I have to use that, but if so, you know where the exits are. And if you're sitting there and realizing you need to use the bathroom, you take the stairs down, the bathroom on the right. On the first floor. And unfortunately, a lot of alumni did want to come, but weren't able to be with us in person today, so we are going to be recording today. So just be mindful of the cameras as we move around. Now, before we go ahead and get started, the family did ask if we could have a moment of silence and prayer for Dr. Chough. We welcome the Spirit here with us today and to celebrate His mercy. So let's go ahead and take that one moment of silence. Go ahead and get started. We're going to be celebrating the life today of Dr. Chough. And this is exciting. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be here. My name is Dr. Kim, and I'm an associate professor here at LA University. I'm incredibly honored that the family has asked me to be the MC for this evening's program. First off, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. Dr. Chough is an inspiration to many of us here, including my own family. Dr. Chough was one of many advisors who were involved in my family's education for myself, but he was a great representative and part of my growth. We owe him. Now, unfortunately, when transferred and did reflect with him. Very some pictures of us. Now my parents are hearing, and so my parents were unsure what to do for my education, so they seeked the advice of Dr. Chough, and he provided them with resources and supports for my hearing parents. And that led me to who I am today. Now, without Chough in my life, I probably would not be here on stage today, and just amazing to think about all that he has done for my family over the years. So my parents were unsure what to do. At that time, my father worked for a company in Korea. And that was actually the same company that Dr. Chough's relatives worked for as well. So, my older brother is also deaf. And when I was born, that coworker that is related to Chough was actually able to introduce my father and Chough. And my parents were informed of the deaf resources that Chough was able to provide, and were immensely grateful to him. It really helped foster my parents as they raised me and were unsure of what to do with deaf children. It helped them to feel comfortable and gave them a lot of hope for the future for myself and my brother. And really that led to where we are today. And so I just want to say again how grateful I am to the family. come up, and first I'd like to welcome Dr. Chough to the stage. So over here from the podium. Well, this is a tremendous honor to be here with all of you today. I'm actually going to mention something first because of the fact that when you opened as the MC, when I wrote my remarks, I didn't realize that you would be serving as the MC here, Dr. Kim. So is Daniel Chough also here? Is Dr. Chough here? Both who are faculty members here at Gallaudet who were shaped and heavily influenced by Dr. Chough. And it was just so touching to see the legacy that has been created and what we now have with having you serve as the MC and all that you provide at Gallaudet. And now to Dr. Chough's family. My heart really goes out to you in your loss. And what I can see from the short conversations that we had, the impact that his loss has on all of you. I think it's the hardest loss that anyone can bear, like losing a husband, a father-in-law, and a grandfather. So again, my heart really goes out to you, and the Hearts Community of Gallaudet really goes out to you as his family. And to the friends and colleagues of Dr. Chough, as well as the alum who are here, who had worked for him as he was a professor or was under his tutelage, we are all here to gather to recognize Dr. Chough and to support the family and one another, and recognizing his remarkable life and contributions. Stephen is one of those people who you refer to as being a trailblazer in our community, who's really paved the way and really was able to just overcome many barriers that existed in the community. And he's done so for Gallaudet and for the world. And we are now here gathered to honor him. We pay tribute to him because he was such a remarkable man that represented really valuing family and the best of people, specifically deaf people, in making the world a better place. I wanted to share a few things about him that made him so remarkable on a personal level. One, knowing that he was not just fluent in ASL and English, but was also fluent in Korean, Japanese, and multilingual. So such a remarkable man. And what's fascinating when you learn more about his background, he was a person who was the one who helped to evacuate his family in Korea during the Korean War. And he also worked for the Korean military at that time. He was a teacher at a school for deaf and blind children in South Korea. He was a wonderful husband, father, grandfather, and sibling. I know that his sister is still alive. She's 96, and she's the only family member who's still remaining. So family was clearly very important to Stephen. It was one of the places in which he was able to help his children to grow, and we've seen that they've learned the language as well, and they are bilingual, and they are continuing to carry on the legacy of their father, for which we are grateful. So as president of Gallaudet, what I am most proud of is the fact that he got his start after he graduated from this wonderful university. I'm so proud to see that he is one of our products of Gallaudet. And he is believed to be the first ever deaf individual to earn an MSW as well as a DSW, from what we can find. And he eventually came back to the university, and he was an associate professor. He then became the dean of student affairs, and then he was also the coordinator for the International Student Affairs Division. So he had served in multiple different roles in different capacities, and I'm sure that people here in our audience know him from those different roles in which he held while he was here. People have always looked up to Dr. Chough as the father of social work here in the deaf community and at Gallaudet, because he was the one who helped to establish the program. And as a woman, it's interesting when you think about having a man who had set up the social work program, which was pretty revolutionary. It just showed the great heart that he had. and his thoughts and really caring about the world. I think that his experience through war helped shape his understanding and the importance of social work and what that provides to families and individuals. And what's most important to know about Stephen is that he didn't just practice social work, he also engaged in research. He set up best practices to improve the lives of deaf people here in the United States and across the world. To apply what he knew through research and to apply it into practice. The seed that he planted in the world has had a ripple effect, and it continues to impact generations. When we think about the ripple effect, that includes many of the people who are here in this room. Dr. Kim, Dr. Daniel Chough, or people don't know who that is, he's one of the leader of our 5 schools. You know, Gallaudet used to have 17 departments, that we now have consolidated into 5 schools, and Daniel is one of the leaders of the particular schools that we have. So you can definitely see the impact that Dr. Chough has had on various individuals, and he just has a remarkable legacy. And what is evident is that Dr. Chough really dedicated his life to expanding the field of mental health and social services to improve educational opportunities for deaf individuals here and around the world. And if you look to see what's most important today from what he had worked on during his time at Gallaudet, it has only become greater and greater in terms of what we're able to offer and the opportunities that are afforded to individuals for people to do this work as professionals in the field of mental health and social work. And if we didn't set up the social work program, it's now one of the biggest programs at Gallaudet, I have to say, at the bachelor's level as well as at the graduate level. So it's one of our most robust programs, and we are so grateful to Dr. Chough for being that trailblazer, for establishing this program, leaving a legacy that has really impacted the rest of the world. So for me, it's really an honor to be able to host his service here at Gallaudet. So thank you for this opportunity to be able to host our alumni here, our faculty, our administrators, and various leaders all here in the place where we saw that we had an impact on his life as well. And it's a nice reminder for all of us to think about and the impact that Gallaudet has. For Stephen or Dr. Chough, may his soul rest in peace, and for all of us who are here, his soul and spirit is still there for us to call upon when we need the energy to continue to do our work and to continue to have that ripple effect on the world. We now look to his spirit and call upon his spirit to make sure that we are doing for our youth and for the community what he has done for all of us in his lifetime. We are taking on this work to continue and recognizing him and his legacy. So to the family and friends and all of you who knew Stephen or Dr. Chough well, our hope is that you will leave with grace, and grace will be upon you as you continue to navigate and learn what that is like about his physical presence with us here on earth today. Again, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chough, for your beautiful remarks. Definitely touched many of us. Now I'd like to bring Dr. Chough's son, Alexander Chough, bring him up to the stage, and he can share some of his words.
Sorry for using Thank you for those beautiful comments. I hope we can just be a little bit of what Steve has done to you and what Steve has done for being for everyone here. I'd like to call out Southern Straw, my friend. He's up here to sit. Every time I think of him, it always puts a smile on my face because I had so many good times with him. We had great enjoyment teasing each other. I think about who is he and how can I bring comments about him to you. I have a list. He was a loving person, caring. He had a great sense of humor. You who know him agree, I'm sure. He got very involved. Like what Bobby was saying. He was a trailblazer. I completely agree with that. 110%. A real trailblazer. I'm going to give you a few examples on my list. He's a survivor. As his son Alex mentioned, he went to the Korean War. He survived that time period. And why did I mention that he's loving? We traveled together. He always carried a picture of his children and wife. When you get ready to go to bed, he put it next to his bed. Although, no matter where he was, he always had the picture of his wife and children with him. bring him a briefcase. I opened it up, and I noticed what he had in his famous, fancy briefcase. He had a doll for his dog and a toy for his son. He carried that in his consecutive briefcase. He worked in Minnesota as a social worker. He was in the mental health field. He worked there at the mental health hospital. He met a lady who was deaf. Found out there was no program for her. That didn't stop him. He started looking into it. He found there was a deaf person here and there, all over the place in Minnesota. He wanted to bring them together. He didn't just sit and twiddle his thumbs. He fought. He discussed. He worked to set up a mental health program for deaf people in St. Paul. At that time, I was working as a VR counselor in Massachusetts back in the 70s. And I heard about it. And I heard good things about it. I heard that he established the mental health program, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to have one here in Boston. We should get Steve Chough to come and direct it. I invited him to come. He said, you come here. And we went back and forth, and he won. I moved to Minnesota. You remember that, Nancy? When he came here from Korea, he was alone, making friends. There was one professor that became a close friend with him, Alex mentioned him, very supportive. There was a certain professor by the name of ABC, Alan B. Dramatic. You old timers will remember him. You'll remember him. In a sense, he adopted Stephen, and Stephen was so grateful, and named his two children after him. Abby Chough, and the son, Alex B. Chough. So that way you kept in remembrance his gratefulness to ABC. He never exploited anyone, and he did not exploit him. He always had a very long memory of anyone who helped him and his family. When we were in Minnesota, we had a great time. Playing jokes, practical jokes with each other. One time we were talking, we needed a statewide program for deaf services. It's not just mental health services. That was a separate service, but we needed like human services, like helping find jobs and so forth. Social work services. So we formed a committee of 8, because we're 8 leaders among us. Now that includes Jimmy Jones as well. He's also a graduate of Gallaudet. And Jerry Nelson. I remember them all. Several. Oh yes, of course, Bob Harris was one of them. So we had a number of conflicts trying to get together. We decided we'd get together at 6 a.m. each week. We bring our coffee with us and donuts, and that's when we would talk and set up a statewide program. And it's still in existence today, and it's going very strong there. That was his brainchild. One funny thing, after Minnesota, he moved to Michigan and set up a mental health program there for him. I used to live in Michigan before he was there. I had moved from Michigan to Massachusetts, and in fact to Minnesota. He moved from Minnesota to Michigan. So I visited him there. I went into his office, and I noticed a few patients that I knew who used to be my clients. I didn't think much about it, but then Steve, even to his last day, he could not spell my last name. He couldn't do it. And he would start to spell it, and I wouldn't say anything. One of the patients said, Steve, maybe this is how you spell that name. Spelled it perfectly. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of funny. The patient was able to spell my name correctly, rather than the director who couldn't. Another interesting story. As I said, I lived in Minnesota, and I went from there to here. And one time I agreed to meet Mackinac Island, their family, with his wife, his children, another couple, and me and another friend came, we met there at Mackinac Island. It's an island north of Michigan. If you look at Michigan like this, it's above Michigan. And another part of Michigan is on this side, and in Canada, it's around to the north. And it was right in the middle of the lake. The only way to get there is by boat. And of course, once you're on the island, there's no cars, there were horses. So all the families were there, and we saw a buggy come by. And we couldn't really talk to them because they didn't understand us. And Abby, another friend, decided that they would interpret. How old were you at that time, Abby? About 12. She was about 12. She's interpreting for us, very enthusiastically, working between the hearing people and ourselves, taking on that role of an interpreter. And she really tried hard. She was great. And she worked all day doing that. When we went back to the port, waiting for the boat. We had about an hour or so to spare, so we kind of were walking around. And we noticed a store selling souvenirs. We went in, and there, those fake headlines, there was a newspaper with fake headlines there. You've seen them before, they print them out. And I looked at it, and my friend and I, we decided to print Abby interpreted wonderfully, something like that. We put this big headline in this paper. So we had it printed, and then we talked about, now how are we going to get it to her? And we thought, Abby was walking along, coming by, looking through the windows, and then we kind of sneaked off. We got to the back of the store. She came walking along, and she entered the store and was looking around. And there, we're right there in front of the print shop, and a man, opened up the print and laid it out right in front of her. And she looked down and she was shocked. Oh my gosh, she looked around, she was just bewildered. And then she heard me laughing in the back. And I got her pretty good on that one. Yes, I remember that. She remembers that well too. Now, Steve saw that and says, oh, that's great. We were encouraging her. I really believe strongly in encouraging her. Thank you. That's great. Maybe in the future she'll continue with her signing. Today she's very good at her signing skill. And, maybe there was a little bit of motivation that happened there. Of course, Steve was always a great motivator. Roughly 6 years ago, I visited him in his home in Maryland. Sit down, I figured it's the last few days for him. He didn't have much cognitive ability. His health was going. Looked like he was ready to go at any moment. So I thought, it's my last visit. I got there. He said, my son and my daughter-in-law are expecting a baby. Should be within a few weeks. And I'm hoping I'll survive long enough to see this granddaughter. And she was born. That was almost 6 years ago. And I think the granddaughter kept Steve going, kept him alive for those, more than 5 years. To me, it was amazing. Now, in closing, I miss him. I miss his sense of humor. I know he's up there smiling, and he's trying to figure out how he and I are going to see each other. Maybe later, when my turn comes, we'll start making fun and teasing one another. I love every one of you.
female friend. Now, hearing those stories, I was unaware of a lot of those. It's great to be able to get to know more about Dr. Chough. Also, to just get to know his human side and find out more about his sense of humor and what he brought to life. So, thank you for sharing, and I look forward to hearing more of these great stories. So now I'd like to bring up Umi Ayala to share some remarks.
Hello everyone, it's so good to see you here. It's good to be with everyone. It's an honor to be here with my friend Dr. Chough. Dagon, thank you for that moment of silence. His life was victorious, period. Not silent. I would like to have a moment of applause for him. And please stand while you do this. Thank you so much. Dagon was talking about his being a mentee. For me, an apostle, but means not gone, but he's become bigger. And we see that in his legacy. His legacy is built on helping and supporting others. And I'm talking about that throughout his life. He was a trailblazer for sure, but he just didn't make a trail. He kept building and building and building. I feel very blessed every time I met Dr. Chough, back starting in 1994. I was a graduate student in the department here, yes, in social work, which Dr. Chough, as was mentioned, founded. I am part of his legacy. And when I was doing my internship in the old Northwest campus, not very far from Silver Spring, where Dr. Chough worked, as an advisor, school advisor, I was there, meeting in his office. We went through several years of work together very closely, very personal, close personal relationship. I was new in America, a graduate student, complete different social society. I flew over here from Nigeria as a student and became a student here in Gallaudet, and Dr. Chough welcomed me in and welcomed me into his heart. Now, through my time of being with him and working with him at times every day, I learned a lot about him. I learned about some of his qualities, grace, authenticity. He would tell me stories about his time in South Korea when he was in the military. At that time, it was Korean, Civil War, where he and his brother-in-law, who was part of his son-in-law was president of the central bank. So the Korean military had a list of people who to kill, and that included the brother-in-law. So that was a red flag. You know, he supported military effort. Didn't matter that he was deaf. He invested himself and did his best, to his best abilities, to maintain that country's freedom. And yes, he survived, and after that he had a number of other survivors, which led him here to Gallaudet. And after that, he's met many of you, including myself, some who are sitting here in the audience, and some who are not. And Chough and goodwill, another quality. No matter how smart you are or how powerful you are, if you don't have goodwill, and you don't build goodwill, it's a failure, period. Grace and goodwill together, that was part of Stephen Chough. And in 2002, I believe it was, I was working in Texas at a small community college there, a small town called Big Springs. And I was part of the leadership team. And who did we invite at our next graduation speaker? I said, you should invite Dr. Chough. And I explained why, and they agreed, and they did invite him. And he gave, he was very excited to accept that honor. And he flew to Big Springs, and his presentation I still remember. But one thing he shared with us related to transition into American culture and anger. His real name was not Stephen Chough. So he was trying to figure out how he could integrate here. He had to find a name that worked well easily. So he really admired American democracy. Abraham Lincoln was one of his heroes, a great leader who fought against injustice, and he wanted to be like him. So he adopted the name Abraham. Friends said, no, that's not a good name to take. No, that's old-fashioned. Oh, so there was a lot of discussion about how he decided on the name Stephen, Kevin, which is a beautiful name. Again, I stood up at him the first time in 94. In 95, we both worked together in the ELI program. He was teaching deaf culture, cross-cultural communication. I was teaching English as a second language. He was a very strong mentor, ally, and advocate for me and for other young people there. Fast forward to 2003, I came back to Gallaudet, worked in the Office of International Programs, that included the ELI program, and I felt like, I would meet Chough there, but he was gone. He had left. But when he came to visit, he came to visit me in my office, and we sat down. We just had a great, loving chat. We loved each other, we hugged on each other, and we talked for like 6 hours. I put all my work aside, and I just focused on him, caught up in his life. I said, what are you doing now? I said, oh no, I asked him, what are you doing now? He says, I'm free. I said, well, you come work with us. And I was so excited, he accepted my offer. He came back to teach communications, deaf studies, and help get the new program going. Last fall, Applied English. It was great working with him all those years. And I was glad he came back to work with us. At that time, I saw his impact on international students. No matter where they came from, Asia, Africa, Europe, Latin America, did not matter. He gave them the same treatment, support, and so forth. He is truly a remarkable man. During my time as director, down with different issues, different problems, I tended to go to Dr. Chough first to get advice. The other man was retired, and between the two of them, I knew I could depend on them to give me accurate advice. Not always what I wanted to hear, no, but the things that I should be doing. And so, some stuff I did not want to know, but they would tell me, you need to do this, that, and the other thing, and I have to step back and say, yeah, he never let me wrong. Not one time. Not once. So today, I stand here to let you know that I have a great debt of gratitude to Dr. Chough. And more than anything else, or any other person that I've met here at the university, Dr. Chough is number one. And in closing, in 2009 and 10, I had some visitors in my home. In my home, we set up for a project for deaf Nigerians. Dr. Chough came. It's a nice gathering. A good contribution was made. But what I remember in that fundraising event, Dr. Chough spoke, and he said, I'm here, and I am inspired by you all. And I remember the way he signed inspired. Give me an English word for that sign that I just gave you. Inspired, yeah, what did you say? Moving, good, great. Dr. Chough's translation of that sign is a tree growing within my heart. Roots stay and the tree grows because it's very strong and it never ends. As long as you have goodwill, as long as you have grace, humility, integrity, that is Dr. Chough. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, this honor to share it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Very eloquent. Thank you so much for sharing. Now I'm excited to see two former ELI students, Abbas, Devanash. You guys are going to come share at the same time, and Tissa Ferris as well. Welcome you both to the stage.
First of all, I'm going to try to not take too much of this time, but when he spoke about the tree and being in that sign that he had, I knew about that. He had learned that from his patients in Michigan. That hospital, that is so beautiful, that sign within ASL. It shows that the tree has been planted in your heart and it's growing. And I never forgotten him sharing that with you. Go ahead.
Really, everything that Aaron's mentioned has embodied who Dr. Chough is. Now, for myself, as a student, professional, and also a personal relationship with Dr. Chough. When I came in '89, that time I was at the Northwest campus for Gallaudet. And it was actually during the Deaf President Now movement. And at that time, the campus really expanded. Now we had such a great relationship. Being an international student, the bond that we all had, we never felt homesick because we had that camaraderie and that sense of humor. Now as I went through my college years, Dr. Chough taught cross-cultural communications at the time. And he had me come learn alongside of him as a mentor. So he taught me about lesson planning, and at the time I was very nervous as a student. But he really fostered my growth, and I came alongside of him and always offering me feedback and teaching me how to prepare lesson plans and perfect them. And over time, I became more confident. And I felt ready to become a teacher myself. So at that time, I started teaching cross-cultural communications. And without Dr. Chough, I could not imagine doing that. And now 25 years later, I look back, and I owe that gratitude to him. Now during ELI, when we would have the Thanksgiving holidays, oftentimes Dr. Chough would invite students to his home. Those that didn't have a place to go, I'm sure you all remember. A lot of us would come for the holidays, and we just established such a beautiful personal relationship, and I always enjoyed my holidays with them. And on a personal level, I was single for many years, and Dr. Chough was insistent on me finding a partner. He said, you don't want to sleep at home alone every night for the rest of your life. And so I laughed off his comments, but over the years, once I finally found my wife and had my first child, I was excited to bring them, and Dr. Chough got to meet them about 5 years ago. So I introduced him to my wife and daughter, and he was thrilled to see that. So my last name is Pyrrhus, and so naming my children Dr. Chough had an influence on. Now I remember thinking back to that time that he really encouraged me to find someone, and I owe that to him. To this day, if I hadn't had that advice from him, I'd probably still be single. So looking at those pictures that were showing in the slides earlier, I really remember all of his humor and just his beautiful heart, and it's so greatly. Turn it over to you.
We were both students there at Dr. Chough, and what I saw was so much. My stories, I'm going to try to consolidate them and just give you a few, because there are so many. My first time when I came here, I found Dr. Chough on a ladder. He was at the top of the ladder, and I was wondering what he was doing. At that time, it was at our house, and they were all there and he was giving a speech about first year seminar. And so the fountain house had, like one floor, and you couldn't see, so he decided to get up on a ladder, and so that everybody could see, and he spoke to us from the top of the ladder. My first response was, oh, that's cool. A teacher up on the ladder. I want to catch him. So a little bit of my background. I stayed silent, political silent. And my experience was, so much was happening in Iran. It was such a chaotic time. I felt like, there was no one I felt like I was the only one who had an abnormal life. When I came here to Gallaudet and I met Chough, and he shared his experiences, I went, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. He had some of those experiences too. He had to escape as well. Yes, it's very negative. It can be really a scarring event. But with Chough, when I was explaining to him, I became his student, and I was learning so much from him. So during the internship was probably one of the greatest impacts at George Washington University. And Chough said, you work with me, you'll be my assistant. Assistant? I thought he'd give you a piece of paper, I would make copies, what he wanted. That's what I was thinking, some kind of office work. But I had a complete wrong impression. I said, sure, I'll be your assistant, fine. So we went into George Washington University, and his students were medical students. And, my assumption is they were all like geniuses. And he said to me, the load of work, I'm going to split it in half. You teach half, and I teach half, and we'll share the teaching. I said, wow, no, I can't do this. He said, yes, you have to. You have no choice. You must. So my first day, I began to teach at George Washington University medical students. And, about death culture, about ASL, death studies. And I did not do a great job. I'm going to tell you right now, I made a lot of mistakes. And Chough said, it doesn't matter, don't be upset. I know you're upset. Let me give you some feedback. And I learned from him over time. And I realized I became an advocate. I became an advocate. He just threw me in the water. I had not in a situation totally unexpected. And I made it. When I graduated from Calgary University, I went back to Canada. And I began to learn through the deaf associations that I worked with that there were a number of what we call deaf grassroots people. And I didn't know exactly how to work with them. Now I remember what Chough taught me. Grassroots people, first, they're jealous of you. Remember that. They're always jealous. Why are they jealous of me? We're both deaf. No, you're educated. You're cultivated. They don't have that, so you're going to have to show them what you know. And sometimes, you talk about leadership, you show them. You get them in front of a computer. You show them how to do it. You show them how to develop, gathering information, and so forth. That's how deaf people will learn. Show them. So over 5 years of working in deaf associations there, at the same time I'm teaching and so forth. And finally, the folk rehab in Canada, there were different companies and so forth that needed education, and they asked me to do this. So I went into like Walmart, and I had to ask the manager and explain to them what it's like for deaf people, and that they can work and do the same thing as the treatment. And I thought, wait a minute, I learned that from Dr. Chough. Right there in his class, he was always talking about passivity and deaf, passive aggressive, and that sort of thing. And I started, what I learned from him, I realized I had incorporated it in my art and life. And so, I worked with that in Canada. I came back here to Gala and started working with students. And he would come and visit us. He would always come to see us. I knew he was always here. One of his rules is, Father, I'm sorry, I'm speaking from your family, I'm sorry. He was always like a father to me. I like my brother, my friend, my best friend. He supported me in everything. And everything I learned from him. I will always miss you, Dr. Chough. You impacted me. You changed my life. I was a political escapee, and you gave us an opportunity to learn, and we've been able to do it because of what you have done. I don't have words to express, but I want to tell you, you have got a legacy in us. We love you. I'm sorry. I know he's gone, and it tears your heart up, and it tears mine up too. As his students, he became a pioneer in each of us, like you said before, a trailblazer, and all the different adjectives that were described. He had a heart as wide open as the world. I was part of his life, and I learned so much from him. I'm so grateful. Thank you. I love your family.
Thank you for that powerful, powerful words. What we need to remember about Dr. Chough is that legacy he has left for us, and what an impact it has had on so many. Now we have another friend of Dr. Chough's, Dr. John T.C. Dick. And you might do the lights. Hello everyone, I'm John Yeh. I'm very honored to pay my respects to my close friend, Dr. Chough. What an amazing and remarkable leader who's inspired many of us. With his integrity, his leadership, Chough and I were very close. The relationship I had with him cannot compare. His wisdom, his advice, the way he could listen and give you all of his time. In difficult situations, I know for myself I would always go to Dr. Chough. He always gave me great truth, great advice. Stephen, his sense of humor is one thing that just made him so unique as a person. I will never ever forget this man. I remember the first time we met at Gallaudet University. He came up to me and he said to me, "Many people think that I'm you. And you know, I wish." And then he said, "I wish I was you. I wish I was rich like you." Many people came up to him and mistaken him for me. And I said, "I wish I had your PhD when they mistaken me for him." Stephen gave it all to everyone he worked with. He dedicated themselves and helped all of those international students that came together. He was a great advocate, always giving his time, supporting them in every possible way. All his time and energy was dedicated to the students here. He would go above and beyond. With Stephen's passing, he felt all around. Not only for the deaf community, but for everyone worldwide. He had a lasting impact. We will all miss Stephen. The world will not be the same without him. I want to thank him for everything he's done for us. Everyone was able to see the video. As he said, obviously Asia is a very important part of his identity. So now I'd like to bring up Chough, a representative from the Korean deaf community, to share his remarks.
Hello everyone. I honor each of you. This is a sign in Korean Sign Language. It means hello. Dr. Chough, I was one of his students. And when we would greet each other, we would use the same sign. I always remember him and I greeted one another that way. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how Dr. Chough and I met. I had a similar situation as Daycon. My parents at that time, I did have an older sister who was deaf, and I don't know how my dad met Dr. Chough, but met him at a speaking engagement at At that time, I was not here. I was in a different city at a deaf school. And my older sister told me about Dr. Chough, and I never forgot that name. Later in high school, I picked up a book called Deaf Heritage, and I saw Dr. Chough's face, and I used to see the picture here on the television, and I remember seeing him, and I was so proud to see him. And then years passed, and finally I became a Gallaudet student in the ELI program. I entered that program, and I was looking for Dr. Chough. Where is he? Where is he? And finally, in the EI program, he was introduced, and he was explaining about, American check banking and so forth, and teaching that his international students didn't know anything about that. And he was saying you have to be very careful about the checks. The very first one, don't skip the numbers and so forth. Keep it orderly, and don't get it all messed up. Keep your banking in order. I was a freshman at that time, and something happened. Dr. Chough approached me, called me in, and introduced a former president, King George, to me. He was being invited to go to Korea to be honored. There was a celebration there about the deaf community and what to do. He wanted to know all about the deaf community and how you should function there. And he wanted to know if I would go with him. Oh my gosh, that made me very nervous. I was not an ASL user. ELI, I was there for 1 year, and my English wasn't that well. I had not developed it that well. He says, you can go, trust me, you can go with him. He was warm, he was supportive. And at that time we flew over there. Chough didn't go, he stayed here. I went with King. Oh my goodness, it was so busy. Various government officials, university officials. There was meeting one person after another, and I tried my best to interpret for him from Korean to the English. And he, great opportunity to meet he told him about Dr. Chough and asked him to tell him about Dr. Chough. And what impacted me the most is that people want to know how. People kept coming to me, how do you get Gallaudet? How do you get in there? And I gave that presentation, and I think a number of people came because of me, like maybe 10 became ELI or undergraduate students from that visit. But Dan shared with me he was actually 19. Mostly international students, but 19 of them, I think there was probably more than 30 who got their citizenship. And were not counted as international students, but they were really from other countries. So we thank Dr. Chough for that influence. Dr. Chough retired, but he still was involved with different organizations. I was lucky to get him involved with the Asian Deaf Association and work under him. And he told me one time, he says, we're Korean. And he says, I'm not going to give you a good grade because we're Korean. You have to do the work yourself. And so I worked hard. He had high expectations and demanded a lot, and it was a great challenge. And I had great memories of taking classes under him. Just stepping back, the president showed, there's a picture I'd like to show you first. This is a picture that I got it with Dr. Chough's permission. I think it was 8 or 9 years ago. I visited him, my wife and I, and he had this picture. And I said, may I have copies of that? And so I got copies. And this is the first one. You remember there was a civil war in Korea. But before that, there was a deaf association, just like this NAD, we had presidents, deaf association. Chough is in this picture as vice president. You see him there? 42, what is that number? 4287? 1954. That stands for 1954. Now this picture is saying goodbye to his parents heading into America. That was 1956, September 1st, 1956. And the reason I know this is that he would put the dates on the back of the photos, which really was pretty helpful for me. This one is the ship. And he would talk about this voyage quite often. It took 45 days to get to California back in those days. First, it went to Japan, and then it went to Singapore, and then it went to the Philippines, and then it went straight from there to California. It took 45 days. And you didn't stay on the boat the whole time. You get off from time to time, stretch your legs, and so forth. Once he got to California, then he took a plane to get to D.C. There he is, in the ship, reading and studying. That's a nice picture, I like it. He arrived in California. He said the date was October of 1956. There's the picture. He entered Gallaudet University. It was called Gallaudet College at that time. Hold on a second. Okay, go ahead. Now you may be wondering what this is about. He's pointing. I didn't quite understand it at first. It's the United States map. And he was pointing to Washington, D.C. because that's where he was going to Gallaudet University. That was his dream back then. This picture, I think, was in 1952. 1952, when he was a soldier. One of his friends told him, like the Sun shared with us today about that magazine, he learned about Gallaudet and D.C., and that was his goal. That was his dream, and he shared that with us when we were students here. He said, without him, it would be impossible for me to be here as well. And in closing, I'd like to say thank you to his wife, Nancy, because Steve supported us tremendously at church, and sometimes we'd see him come to visit. And at that time, it was hard for Steve to walk. She would drive and bring him to church, and the deaf community would share with him and share his stories. And he was great at doing that. So for Nancy, we want to thank you for bringing him to share himself with us. I remember the times that I was with him all those years, and I want to say thank you, and I love the family.
Thank you. Now, going on his Asian identity, I'd like to bring up William Wong, President of National Asian Deaf Congress, to share some words. Hello, everyone. I'm William Wong. My sign name. I'm President of the National Asian Deaf Congress, NABC. Just want to share a few remarks about Dr. Chough. What can I say? I was very fortunate to have met him. In 1994, when we first met, we had an Asian Deaf conference in San Francisco. in the Chinatown area in San Francisco at the Hotel Marriott. Now I believe it's changed to the Hyatt, but I digress. We all came to this conference. Many Asian family members, friends, hearing allies came together. This was one of a kind conference, and that is where I got to meet Dr. Chough. At the time he was very young, and over the years I learned so much from him. Really, Dr. Chough was always motivated to empower other deaf Asian people to become leaders in the community, politically or what have you. He put a lot on us to be leaders. In 1994, at that conference, at the conclusion of it, at the time, there was not really any representation of deaf Asians in America. We started from scratch. And after that conference concluded, Dr. Chough was a pioneer, along with Dr. Conway, in establishing an Asian deaf leadership organization. So the two of them took on that role. They first wrote out the bylaws. At first it was an ad hoc committee. Came up with bylaws, we began to have meetings. And even if there was disagreements, Dr. Chough was always there to give great advice and great perspective. And his sense of humor also helped. He always hit it right on the mark and got the group laughing and helped us to see the big picture. Over the times, as we discussed our bylaws and amended them, we came up with our guidelines and the constitution for our group. A few years later, we began to have our conferences, and our next conference we hosted in Los Angeles, California. At the time, that was our second conference, and we had the first in 1994 in San Francisco. So now this time we were hosting our conference in Los Angeles. It was a great turnout yet again. And our first general meeting that we had, our ad hoc committee, along with Dr. Chough, had a very in-depth discussion about the bylaws, deciding the presidential duties, the terms, and at the conclusion of that discussion, we proposed it to the board, and there was a bit of a disagreement. A heavy discussion that ensued from there. Dr. Chough was always there to tread the water and have great perspective on everything. He decided that it should be an all-inclusive organization. And so we all took a vote, majority vote decided to not exclude hard of hearing, but make it all-inclusive for any deaf individual. And so as time went on at the conference and bylaws were passed, we were able to found the first association. And that was in 1997, and it's been around since to this day. We owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Chough and his leadership. And not only that, what he had done in 1994, as well as 1997, and even in 2000, when we had our third conference in Washington, D.C., in Arlington, Virginia specifically. Another doctor I worked hard to write a book with Dr. Chough to leave the history of Dr. Chough and his legacy. And I still have that book to this day that was written about him. Over the years, we've been friends. We've got together from time to time. He was a brilliant man. The discussions we would have, the workshops that he would host, always challenging. As an Asian deaf person, oftentimes I would be passive. Dr. Chough would always challenge me to be more proactive and assertive for myself. And he was always so focused on empowering deaf people to speak up, to challenge the status quo. So as I would see the workshops Dr. Chough present, I would always love getting to see him present. Just to see what a leader he was, the positivity he would radiate, his endurance, his motivation. He would always be uplifting others. His leadership was equal to those in NAD, if not surpassing them. I was incredibly honored to know Dr. Chough, and he really is a legend. No one can encompass all that Dr. Chough was. He was a leader, he was funny. We really all miss you, Dr. Chough. But that we can all take the time to remember Stephen's great life, his leadership, everything he's done for the Asian deaf communities, all the people he's met, all of his friends. He's so thankful to you. We will never forget you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to ask for Mark Mayo, who is the president of the Greater Washington Association of the Deaf, or Greater Washington Asian Deaf Association. And he'll be sharing this also on video. Mark Mayo. We honor Dr. Chough. I remember in 1994, when our association was established. He voluntarily worked on our board, and on our committees, advising, and I remember him, and I remember Nancy, both of them attending each of the meetings, and various events that he never missed. They attended every one, and I appreciate and I applaud you both for that support. I remember sharing one time about the Korean War. In terms of being in the military, you told me that you gathered different eggs, carried them in, and American soldiers, and you could exchange them for chocolate and brought that home to your family. I thought it was fascinating, the various stories you had. And then when you came on the ship from Korea to San Francisco, it was a 45-day trip, a very long voyage indeed into America to attend Gallaudet. It was absolutely wonderful and fascinating. I also need to applaud you, commend you for your work in the Asian deaf community as an advisor, and you stimulated so many young people to become leaders throughout the U.S. You spent your time tirelessly. You invested your money personally, going to San Francisco, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and the other places. You shared your ideas freely, and I noticed that the work you did was just absolutely outstanding. Personally, I've observed that you have so much humor and a huge heart. I know that you specialize in the field of social work or mental health for deaf people and applying your skills there throughout not only the deaf community, but the Asian deaf community and our association as well.
addressing various issues, a brilliant man, stimulating conversation, remarkable individual. We are so proud of you and experienced how much pride you had for us as Asian deaf people here. We really looked up to you. So I ask our members, our families and friends to join me in applauding your successes. And I know that you have another long, very long journey. Travel. We will remember you. So long, Dr. Chough.
What a great example of his legacy. The various Asian deaf organizations Dr. Chough was part of, and they're still alive today. Many thanks to him. I'd like to bring up Harry Larson, friend of Dr. Chough's, to share a few remarks.
Hello, everyone. From what I've learned today, so many things I have to tell you I did not know about him. And I admit, I am very impressed with his life. Boy, that's really something. Not very many people can equal what he has done. I first met Dr. Chough in 1956. Oh, that was 66 years ago, so yeah, that's a long time. And now as I look back at our delicate days, I don't remember a lot back then, but there were a lot of things about him that I plan to say have already been said. I do not have much to add. Nevertheless, I do remember Dr. Chough coming to Gallaudet here at the campus. And so many people were attracted to him and wanted to know more about him, about Korea, his life experiences there. And I learned that he was involved with the military, as well as the U.S. military, the Korean military and the U.S. military during the Korean War. And that he was involved with the soldiers, and he made friends with them as well. And there was one time he was showing interest about trying to get advanced learning, but there was limited opportunities in Korea. But one day, one of the soldiers, a friend of his, showed him that Collier's magazine article that his son showed us today, and that got him interested in coming here to Gallaudet. But the big issue, of course, was finances and the need for support. He had to find a sponsor. One of the soldier's friends offered his mother, as an advocate who lived in Ohio, to be the sponsor. And somehow they made arrangements for the funds, and that was all resolved, and he was able to come. So he came. I think it was in the fall, November, maybe 2 months after Gallaudet had already opened. But that was, he had blamed it on the slow voyage coming over. It was 45 days. So anyway, my experience with Dr. Chough, he's a nice guy. He was great here. I really liked him. He made friends easily with everyone. And he's involved with photography. He loved to take pictures. And before he left Korea, his Army friends gave him a 35mm camera that he brought with him and that he used to take pictures while here and there as well. And during our senior year, he was head photographer for our Tower Club yearbook. That was great. And then during his senior year as well, he was
involved with ASB and he became their president. So he did an awful lot while he was here during his Gallaudet days. He's so impressive. We will all miss him greatly. Thank you.
Bravo. I'm really so honored to hear all of the good stories everyone has from friends, from his mentees, his students. They're all products of what Dr. Chough has given us. I'm just thrilled to see us all come here together today. I would like to welcome up Rebecca Rydstrom, the Alumni Director of Alumni Relations, to share a few words. Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be here today. An honor to listen to all the amazing stories and the incredible impact he's had, not just the people in this room, but everyone worldwide. As you mentioned before, no one can equal that, and I agree with you. So my goal here is to connect alumni, and I'm incredibly thrilled to be in this role. To see Dr. Chough come here from another country alone, not knowing anyone, and the amount of impact he's had on so many people is amazing. He is clearly a Gallaudet success story. We should have a star named after him. He has been the North Star for so many and guided them along their journeys. As we know, he passed this past March. And those of us that work here at Gallaudet, we could see the community response and the impact. We saw a great number of contributions within his name after his passing. And so I want to thank all of you who contributed. And I'd like to let you know the purpose of the funds. Something that he wanted greatly. The family has requested. First off, I'd like to thank you for all of your support and your continued support as well. And if you're wondering how you can honor his legacy, please contribute to the funds. You can find that information on the back of the pamphlet if you scan the QR code. I know some of you might not be familiar with that technology, so you can see me after if you'd like to donate in his name. The family would appreciate it, and many students will benefit from it in the future. So I want to thank you all for coming today. It's a very honor to commemorate this man. I don't know about all of you, but I can feel his warmth and his presence in this room. After the countless stories from all of the people he's impacted, everyone feels that he's still alive here today. His spirit, his sense of humor has all stayed with all of us. His humor is one thing that many of us remember about him. So with this celebration of life today, the family would like to thank you all for coming here today and taking your time to spend your time with us to honor Dr. Chough. We will be having some light refreshments at the Gallaudet Museum